So today is Friday the 13th, and we will hope this is not unlucky for any reason. But let's start off just talking about your background and kind of where you came from. You went to college in Scotland, correct?
Yeah, that's right. I am born and raised in Denmark, so hence the K in my name, and the funny spelling of my first and last name. But I spent 2 years in the States at international school, sort of learning different cultures. This was at high school level. Subsequently, I went to college at the University of St Andrews in Scotland, where I studied history and international relations. So unlike unlike a lot of people at Google and in the hangout here, I don't actually have much of a technical background. My background is very much in business and in sort of the social sciences. When I graduated from college, I took a gap year, so to speak. I went back and worked for a hotel in Denmark, and then I got my first real job at IBM. So I worked for Big Blue for 4 years in outsourcing sales. Very interesting, great experience to learn about how a big company like IBM does things. I think that taught me a lot about how I would like to, what kind of company I would like to work for, what's good about the sort of corporate bureaucratic world, and what's the things that aren't so good. So.
Yeah. Well, you were in IBM in the U.S., is that correct?
I was actually in IBM in the UK. I lived in London for 4 years.
Okay. All right, cool. So, this is something that I kind of wanted to talk about first because I have a feeling that a lot of people want to know how you get hired at Google. Now, I know you're not going to answer that in one sentence or in 5 minutes, but just out of curiosity, was your international background a factor, do you think, in Google, choosing you?
I think it plays in. I think there are lots of things that Google looks at when they hire people, and as I said, I'm not on the hiring team, so I haven't been privy to that. But I think we talk a lot about being googly at Google. So you'll hear that a lot when you talk to Googlers. It's like, let's be googly about this. We hire people who are googly, and that just means that they're kind of those people that stand out a little bit when you meet them. That they have something special about them, whether it's international background or whether it's that they can play 7 different instruments, with their hands tied behind their back. There's, the great thing about working here is that every single one of your colleagues have that little bit extra. That's the googly bit. And it's hard for me to explain exactly what it is, but it is a common factor, and as I said, you'll hear it a lot when you talk to Googlers. Be googly about things. It's our own little word.
So what brought you to Michigan specifically? Was that where Google located you, or
actually, this is kind of a funny story. My wife and I met at the Grand Canyon 10 years ago. We were both on holiday there, and she is from Michigan originally. So when we got married, I immigrated to the United States. I quit my job with IBM, and I came over to Michigan. And then I was kind of, okay, what are we going to do here? And I looked at various options, and Google has a big office in Ann Arbor in Michigan, so that kind of became a goal. It's always been a dream of mine to work for Google. But it was kind of funny, I went from London, which is 10 million people, and I moved to Blissfield in Michigan, which is 3,000 people. Yeah. So I moved to this little village in the middle of nowhere to get my dream job, and it was kind of weird. Yeah, but it worked out really well.
Yeah, well, that's interesting, and I'm sure we could talk about getting a job with Google to you and other people for all day, but I really wanted to get into specifically what you're doing now with Google, because we're all Google Plus users, and a lot of us here in this hangout are small business owners or have been startup owners, or in some capacity we're all kind of entrepreneurs, I think, in this group. Yeah, so specifically tell me about what you do at Google now and kind of what products you work with and all that.
Yeah, so I kind of have 2 functions at Google, and my primary role is to help startups, small businesses, but also larger businesses, get the most out of their online experience by utilizing the Google products. So that's all the way from our marketing products, also to apps, to Google Plus, and really it involves talking to the various divisions of companies, whether it be marketing, PR, sales, to see, well, can we use AdWords to get you more leads? Can we use YouTube to attract to engage with customers in a better way? And how can it all fit together? And my area of expertise is the B2B space. So most of my customers sell to other businesses.
Okay.
So I'm using my experience from my IBM days to do that. But on the other side, it's also, as I mentioned in the beginning, on the social side. So I work closely with the Google Plus Your Business team, and using, again, what I hear from customers, what I hear from businesses, that what they want to get out of their online experience and what they feel is missing, and that's kind of what we're hoping that we can accomplish with Google Plus.
Right, and that's interesting that you work with the B2B side, because one of the things I was going to mention here in this Hangout at some point was that one of the missing elements in a lot of social networks is B2B networking, I think. And it's improving, or some companies may do it well, but I think that businesses haven't really found how they connect with other businesses through a social network. You know, they're usually talking about, you know, advancing their PR and making sure their customers, you know, the end users kind of like their products and monitoring conversation. So, you know, kind of getting into that, what role do you think Google Plus will or does play in B2B networking like that?
I think it comes back to kind of what challenges there are in the B2B space, and for a lot of companies, it's not just B2B, but and a lot of companies are not geared to handle social media very well, and I say that not as a criticism, it's just more of a way that their tradition is set up. So you have a company, you'll have PR, you'll have marketing, you'll have sales, you'll have HR, you'll have all these kind of different things. And what we see with social media is that it really is cross-functional, and it you know, it involves everyone. So you can't just have marketing handling your social media channel. It doesn't work like that. Customer service needs to be in there too, and sales and all this kind of stuff. So part of it is from an organizational point of view, businesses struggle to embrace that. Now, to move on from that, the kind of feedback we were getting from businesses regarding the social media space was that they didn't really feel that it was fit for purpose. One, because the messages they were sending to their customers were typically rather impersonal. So you have a company like Nike, you have your soccer fans, you have your football fans, you have your basketball fans. Sending one message to all of them is not really all that clever, and I think that kind of turned some companies off, that they couldn't be very specific in their messaging. Number two, comments, they couldn't really engage in conversations. It was, you know, it was about comments, but it was hard for the businesses to respond and have a good system of how to respond and when to respond, and that was kind of hard. And thirdly, one of the real powerful things about social media is the recommendations. So we buy from people who we know, who recommend stuff to us. Now, we really found that we talk about that we felt that recommendations don't have staying power. Mm-hmm. So they didn't resonate with people. We kind of tried to set out to fix that.
Yeah. So going back to, and this, you said something that really stuck out to me, specific segments of customers for a large company like Nike. And this could apply to small companies that maybe do web services to companies of different, you know, kind of types of companies or different people. Do circles play a big role in that? Do you see companies using circles to kind of spread out the right messages to the right people at the right time?
Yeah, it was absolutely our goal that circles was a big part of that, and circles we feel has a really strong way of dealing with that now. So we saw in the early days of Plus pages, we saw Intel come out using their scrapbook as saying, hey, what circle do you want to be in? So they have a press circle, they have tech enthusiasts, and we feel that was a really cool way to do it. Now, is it completely where we want it to be? No, it's not. I think there's still a lot of developments going on. The team is working really hard to figure out exactly how can we make circles the best experience for everyone. But we do feel that there is a lot of power in let's use a coffee shop as an example. They have people coming in for study groups in the morning, and they'll have people come in and, the early risers who get a cup of coffee before they start in the morning. I mean, if you talk about marketing, it's a powerful message to say to the early risers, hey, if you come in before 7 a.m., you get 20% off your coffee or whatever, and that's a very specific marketing message that we feel will really resonate. So have we seen the best of circles yet? I don't think so. I think there's a lot of awesome things to come from businesses.
Yeah.
And I think we can definitely see some really innovative ways of using them.
I definitely see that, and I think that's something unique about Google Plus's approach to social networking. But along those lines, when you're talking to businesses, and here in Knoxville, honestly, I know some of these people in this hangout know this, that there aren't a ton of people or businesses signed up to use Google Plus yet. It's not a mainstay like Facebook, where every restaurant around the corner has a Facebook. What is the advantage now for businesses to become early adopters in this?
Well, I think one of them is to, as we encourage, before we had business pages, I don't know if you remember, we encouraged business owners or business people at businesses to get online and start playing with with what you can do with Google Plus, and really the early adapters of that who moved into the business page space are seeing huge advantages because they kind of have a feel for the tone of communication on Google Plus. They also have a feel for how it works, and I think that's very powerful. Now we agree that it's certainly a competitive space, especially people I was out of business earlier this week and they were like, well, we have a lot of things on our plate.
Right.
And what the kind of message we kind of try to come across with is that yes, it's a lot, but the value of having real conversations, of having real engagement with your customers, whether it's or business contacts, is huge. So we did earlier this year. We did the Google Help Desk Hangouts. I don't know if any of you were involved in those. Mm-hmm. I spent 3 hours doing that, and I spoke to 62 people.
Yeah.
In 3 hours.
Wow.
And that kind of value and that kind of face-to-face time is incredible. Incredibly valuable to us, but it is to all businesses. And that's really where we need to get to. And when I tell that to businesses, they're kind of like, whoa, what about brand safety? What about all these you don't know what's going to happen at Hangout.
Right.
And you don't.
Yeah, you're right. And it's dangerous, and maybe some people want to avoid it for that, but I also think it's more honest, and I think that's the real advantage when you're talking about real customer interaction and not just you're the big corporate face.
I absolutely agree, and that's one of the things you see. We advocate a lot that people, like businesses, sign their posts when they post them. So whenever you see a post from the Google Plus Your Business team, you'll see it's either by Toby or by me or someone else on the team, and I think that's really personalized Google to a lot of people, and we feel there's a tremendous value in that.
Right. Well, let me, Kathy put something in the chat that made me think of this. So another advantage, and this is not fully fleshed out, I don't think yet, but it's coming this way, is that search engine visibility, right? Eventually, and I don't know how much you know about this side of things, but eventually, and it is becoming integrated, Google Plus is becoming integrated with Google's whole search. Could that, getting your business page now be an advantage for SEO purposes, and having your brand out there?
I think, again, I'll come back to having a Plus page. We certainly see as an additional way of getting in touch with your customers.
Yeah.
And I think it is a really, really good way. And I agree that there may be it may be hard in the beginning to gain those followers, to make sure that you and we're constantly working here at some ways that maybe can help business owners do that in a better way. But I hope you, and I know you guys understand that the reason why we've set it up in that way is that we don't want businesses to go out and spam follow, and that we've seen that in other places where it's just been very we don't feel it's a very good way of gaining trust. So one of the things that we've seen work really, really well is that you create compelling content on your page, people will find it on the search, for example. So if I was a grocery store that sold organic food, I post about creating really good recipes, the foodies on Google Plus will eventually find me if I create really compelling content.
Yeah, I think
that's really what.
Yeah, I think the content is what a lot of companies are missing. Whereas when they were when people were starting on Twitter, I know a lot of companies would just follow industry leaders and hope they follow it back. And I think this is one of the cool things about Google Plus is that I can't, have companies just start following me en masse, and that they have to actually create content that is shared by my friends or I search and find in order to, find them. So I think that's interesting. I wanted to also kind of go in deeper into that and ask you about any companies you've seen really use it effectively. And I know you mentioned Intel, but are there any other examples that you can think of?
I think I see obviously the news organizations have really taken to it in a great way, and I think that's a great thing. We also see people who do really cool things with their scrapbook. So Nissan comes to mind with some really cool animations around their scrapbook. Burberry obviously was an early adapter and have had tremendous success across all their social networking platforms. I think the companies that really do it, I want to call out for Dell as well. Susan over at Dell has done a tremendous job being active and being very engaging, both on her personal account but also on the business account. And I think that's really key. The difference between Google Plus and some of the other ways of engaging with people is that it is about conversations. It's not about broadcasting. Mm-hmm. And I think that means a lot. And the companies that are doing very well are really engaging. They're not just broadcasting something and then leaving the post alone and hope it goes somewhere. Yeah. And I think we all know that from our own posts, that when we don't respond to comments, that comment count stays at 2 or 3. Yeah. It doesn't go down to, it doesn't become a real conversation, and that's really where we want to be.
Yeah. And along these lines, I have a request or a thought to run by you and see where it goes. So right now, it seems to me, or at least that I've noticed, when someone mentions a page that I manage, I don't get a notification on that page. Is that right?
Yeah, so notifications, as you probably noticed as well, is one of those areas that we work a lot on. Right. We went to the new notification system, it went back to the old one, and it went back to the new one. Mm-hmm. And we feel that it certainly can be better. And while I don't have anything specific to announce at this time, right. We certainly are. We're seeing a lot of feedback on the notification piece because, as you just said, it's key to the engagement piece. You have to know when people are talking about you.
Right, that's exactly what I was going to say. It's like it would be nice if I had a company page to be able to see when people mentioned me and know kind of who's been talking about me and in what respects. But I understand this is, you guys are in beta with this and in a lot of testing and a lot of feedback time. So I'll be patient with my request, but I do think that would be a nice feature to add.
Absolutely, I agree.
So let's talk about some other Google products. We talked about Plus some, and I'm sure some of the audience members may have questions about Google Plus when we come back to them. But what other Google products have you specifically worked with? And also then if you want to go into examples of companies using them really well, that would be awesome.
Sure. So what actually one of the things that excite me the most as a marketing person is the integration across the various products with Google Plus and the Google marketing products. So in my day job, I refer to Google AdWords a lot. So this is across Google Search, the Google Display Network, YouTube, and mobile as well. And what's really cool to see are the companies who kind of embrace the whole circle. And they start seeing those +1s in search results. They start seeing those +1s on the page. They have the badge on their website to pull people into their page, and it's really they're really getting a lot of benefit out of that. Again, it's something we're working actively with companies to kind of to work more at, and I think it's starting to take off in a very positive way. We're seeing tremendous results with the social annotations on Google search ads, for example. When you see an ad that one of your friends have +1, it's a very positive thing, and it's a very powerful message to send to the consumer. So really, that's one of the things that excite me the most, that we can bring that to the full circle. So at the heart of it, it's also about serving relevant ads to all our users. So on YouTube, I'm sure we've all seen our fair share of ads that weren't really relevant to us, and that's something the team is always working on improving. So now, actually, for me, I always opt into everything. So now I'm on YouTube. I watch every single ad I get is almost for gadgets, which is really, really cool because I love seeing ads for gadgets. So just coming back to what I, to the product side, it is really about bringing them all together and making sure that our clients get the most out of all their products, all the products they use with us. So we're working hard on that, and it's really exciting. We bring on new customers every day, and we're very excited about that. And we have done for some while. So it's really the thing to remember is that especially, I mean, everywhere, but in the U.S., which we consider a very mature market, there are still so many businesses out there that are not online yet. So we're working hard at helping them. And you've seen probably the Get Your Business Online programs that we have in various states. Again, something we're working very hard on. So that's really a long answer to a short question.
No, and I totally see this, and I think this is something that a lot of us in this Hangout that have talked with me before have pointed out that Google's doing well is giving small businesses especially, and maybe even big businesses soon, a kind of central hub to run their business, but also to get out to customers. And I think that's an interesting, for a guy that's like, I'm a one-man business, I freelance and stuff, is it extremely helpful that I can run my calendar, my mail, my documents, my social network, all these things all through Google. And I think that's a really interesting part of the marketing.
Yeah, and we can certainly appreciate the kind of strains that even big companies are under with their marketing teams and their social media teams. Or they don't typically have teams that take care of it. They'll have one person who does the social media on the side. So one of the things that we try to do is really help those people. So behind me, I have a team of account managers who help people build out AdWords campaigns, who help create creatives, who help with all that kind of stuff, and we can really get people in a good place to succeed. So and all of that is something we offer free of charge. I mean, there's of course a cost with using AdWords, but our account management services, our client service representatives, they're all there to help our customers, and that's something we're very proud of, and we have a very good track record on.
All right. So I guess I want to go to just a last question. Are there any big either changes or things coming out with Google soon that you're interested in or that you are excited about that you can tell us about? Obviously, I don't want to get your
Carl, we rolled out so many improvements to Google Plus in the first year and that in the first 6 months.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I think Vic has said this before, but there was 100 new features of Google Plus rolled out in the first 6 months, and we actually ship a new version of Google Plus every single day, which is for those of you in IT, that's a pretty big feat.
Yeah.
And we've been very proud of how it's worked and how it's not crashed and all that. So it is really cool, and the cool thing is I've seen the roadmap for what's to come, and it's super cool. I wish I could talk more about it and show a chart here, but it is super cool, and I think if you think back to the first 6 months, there was much more of that to come.
Yeah, we'll have a follow-up in a few months, and we'll see how cool it is.
Well, that's exactly it, Carl. In 6 months, we'll have a conversation like this again, and there'll be so many things to talk about that we wouldn't even, if you think back of when Google Plus started, you can't even remember what features weren't there. And that was, and that's kind of the interesting part. But yeah, as I said, we're super excited about what's coming, and there is not a day that goes by without us internally talking about Google Plus and how we can make it better for our users, and we're very excited about what's to come.
Excellent. Well, okay, that's really all I have in my stack of questions. So I saw that Kathy posted up a question. Feel free to ask it out loud, Kathy, if you want to. You can go ahead and go first. And if you've got questions, I guess maybe the most organized way to do this, kind of type them up there, and we'll scroll down them. And if you've got input, feel free to yell out. We're not gonna, bash you or anything. It's no big deal. Kathy, you want to go ahead and ask something?
Sure. I was in another live hangout with, I think it was Lynette Young, who was talking about company pages, and she suggested that one of the main strengths of having a company page was that it promoted better page ranking as long as you were careful with the content and you used the keywords that would identify you in a certain area. Is it any different being a company page versus being a personal page and being active in that way?
As far as I know, it's not. One of the things that, of course, you can do with a company page is link it directly to your URL. So that verification piece between your business page and your actual website is something that customers will start to look for. It's a way to secure that we have the right company in place. It's something that we look for as well. Actually, we have the little Google bot checking that it's not fake pages. And I know we work very hard at making sure that there's no fraud in that area. And so at a business page, if you have a business, you should have a business page. That's essentially the message we send to all business owners. If only because you can make sure to make that verification piece between your website and the business page.
Scott, Scott had a question next.
Yeah.
Hey, Scott.
I was wondering, I know that you don't necessarily want to talk about the roadmap of Google Plus and how it's going to be elaborate and a lot more things are being added. But currently, let's say in this month or in this couple of weeks, what is the main focus? Is it fixing bugs or is it development of new things? Just because I just kind of want to figure out where the focus is currently so that I can put up with more bugs or things like that.
It's both. It's absolutely both. We want to make sure that the product that's there works. We do kind of a joint development. We have an internal Google Plus and external Google Plus, so we try to fix as many bugs as we can before we go live with changes. But sometimes a change just has to go live because that's really the only way to test it. And I think the feedback tool is incredibly powerful. I've shared this with as many people as I can. We do have a workflow where every single piece of feedback is actually looked at by a human being. It gets and then it's piled in. So for example, the feedback button got moved last week. Again, it was people were finding it annoying, and suddenly we got a lot of feedback, and it got moved. But at the same time, and I think you all agree that people, one of the challenges with shipping so many improvements to the product is that people expect it to. So we got to keep up with both. So if I was out in Mountain View probably 3 months ago at the in the building where all the Google Plus engineers sit, and it's crazy. They work so hard, night and day to get this to ship launches all the time, and it's very cool to see. But I certainly have a lot of respect for those guys. They work really, really hard.
Cool.
I think Christian was next in line. Hey, Christian, you got a question?
Yes. Hi, Chris. Well, we all know that Google Plus and some of the other Google properties that are really sexy are the ones that mostly get brought up as far as business, small business and big business are concerned. But I'm sure that Google is aware that many of the other Google services and properties are used by thousands of small businesses across America and across the world every day to help improve their businesses. Using Google free services to replace costly technologies that 5 or 6 years ago were prohibitive for any small startup, not necessarily in technology, but across all kinds of industries.
Yeah.
I was wondering if Google had a process as to where small businesses that are using those properties, for example, maps and latitudes for routing in freight business, or I was wondering if Google had in mind of a way of small businesses giving feedback as to what of those properties they would like to see in some sort of centralized Google dashboard for business.
The sort of generic feedback we use a lot is the forums that you've probably been to a couple of times, and we depend on those a lot to hear what's going on and what people are using. Of course, on the backside, we use our own analytics tools to kind of figure out what are people using, what are people finding helpful, and how can we improve. How can we improve what we're looking at? One of the things that Larry came in with when he became CEO was very much like we have to have a focus and what are we trying to do, and what we need to do the things that we do very, very well. And I think in terms of the small business area, I mentioned earlier the Get Your Business Online. We had an event here in Michigan called Michigan Get Your Business Online, and that combined with apps, with everything that we have going on, I think is a really positive development. Are we there yet? Probably not. But I don't think, even if you ask me in 6 years, are we there yet? And the answer will still probably not. But I think we're really, really proud of what we do with our small businesses, and they're a huge part of our portfolio in terms of the companies that we think about. And it's certainly our declared goal to get every single one of those businesses online using tools that are fit for purpose, using tools that are cost effective. And if there was a better way, we always love to hear feedback. And there's Dave Giroud from the apps team is a great guy and a great leader on that team. So we are, short answer again, we are always looking to improve. And again, I know of some improvement that'll happen in Google Docs and the like over the coming year, and it's very cool. And I really think our business owners will like them and find them very useful.
Definitely. I have your information, so later on I'll send you more detailed information on what I'm actually talking about.
Sure.
But yes, Google and its properties are giving very small businesses, micro businesses, a leg up in competition against the bigger guys because of all the technologies you guys bring to the table. And I was just wondering if there was a concerted effort to centralize a lot of those useful properties into a more one-page kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, let's keep going because I've got questions flowing in. I don't want to leave everybody. David, you got a question. Is your mic working? If you want to ask it. David? No.
No, it's not.
No, I guess not.
Yeah.
Oh, you there, David?
Yeah, it is. I had it muted, so
okay, gotcha.
Heater wouldn't happen and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I guess kind of knowing what you know about the business in general, not necessarily about the road map, really. If you were to leave Google and round up a few smart people, what area would you focus on to start a business? I mean, there's some hot trend, something that's going to be a really good business.
It's a great question, and I often think about it because you do see people leave the company for typically to go work at startups or start their own business. I have a huge passion for the mobile space and for the social space, and I think that's where I would go, and I would focus on things that make life easier for people. I think we have enough tools out there right now to communicate, to share. Are they perfect? No, not yet. But I think there are things there that can be done in terms of how to manage your life better. And I would love to do some work in that space. So mobile apps, for example, but not just mobile apps, or mobile apps that sync across platforms. I think that's really important because I don't know about you guys, but when I sit at home and I watch TV, I have Google TV on the TV. I have laptop in my lap. I have my smartphone. I have my tablet. I have my Chromebook. And I don't want to be messing around with what data is on what device. I want it all at my fingertips right there and then. And I think there's work to be done there. I love that people are embracing the cloud. I think that's really cool, and I think that's where things are going.
Yeah.
I think your answer is right on with do where your passion is, for sure. And I guess I was just wondering about any particular Google products that you could focus on to make a living sort of around those particular products.
I think I think I would have to say Android. I think Android is the future of a lot of what we do. We've seen a lot of the this stuff. We can't remember when it was that Andy Rubin demoed the speaker that was a wireless speaker, and they talked about last year at Google I/O. They talked about having Android on your washing machine and your dishwasher, and I think as crazy as that may sound, I would really love for my dishwasher to tell me when it was done when I'm watching TV.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of potential there too. Mark, did you have a question? I don't want to forget about you.
Oh yeah, no, that's okay. It might be one you don't want to answer, if that's okay. You mentioned internal Google Plus and external Google Plus at Google. Plans in terms of rolling that out to external companies so that obviously they could develop, which would help your funnel for having more people within an organization within the Google Plus system to then customer face.
I actually don't know. I'm not involved with that team, and it's not even I know. I'm not involved with much with the engineering team, other than they typically come and tell us that we can't talk about that just yet because it's not done yet.
That's fine.
So a funny story is there that I don't know if you guys saw, but we held a QA on our page a while back, and Mashable picked it up, and they said, Chris Sorensen is saying that multi-admin will come before 2012. And suddenly that story got run in Mashable, and product reached out to me and said, hey, we don't talk about this stuff before it launches. So, but thankfully it did launch before 2012. But so I don't know. It's the very truthful and honest answer.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I'm starting to lose track of who put in questions. Did anybody else have a question next? You can kind of wave at us or something. Nobody?
Live Hangouts. The issue of when Live Hangouts will be rolled out to more people, I guess, on Air Hangouts.
That's right. Yeah, Kathy was asking about that. Okay.
Yeah, when can we have it?
What now? Not greedy.
You'll get it soon enough.
That's your final answer.
I think I would assume pretty soon. I put in a request to get this one, and I think Chris pulled some strings, or somebody over there did. The answer that Scott gives is more real than you'd think. We want to make sure that this is scalable before we roll it out to the world. It would be a really bad user experience if we rolled it out and no one could use it because it didn't work. And that's really we're really very keen on getting this functionality out. We're very excited about it. I think going back to the businesses, the things that businesses can use Hangouts for, and especially Hangouts on Air, is really going to change the way we do a lot of things. And I think that's, we talk a lot about how making things, and Larry, at every single meeting we have internally, he talks about changing the world for the better. And I think Hangouts is one of those things that will change the world for the better. You think about education, it can bring education to remote areas. Just the fact that it's bringing us together right here is awesome. And again, it's probably going to be one of those things that in 5 years or 10 years, kids are going to look at Hangouts and they're going to be like, they're just going to take it for granted. But as you guys who've been in the business world knows, that this kind of technology, just before Google Plus came out, was really not something you take for granted. And I think that's super cool. I know when Sergey brought it up in an internal meeting that let's do this kind of crazy 10-person video conferencing thing and then roll it into Google Plus, people just looked at him going, what? But it's really, really cool that it's coming together, and I think it's going to be a true business changer and true game changer. I have a question about non-Google products, and this is an opinion.
Sure.
So your opinion. I know everybody's like, "Oh no, don't do that." Do you use? I'm just curious. Do you use or enjoy any other social networks, whether they be mobile social networks or kind of some of the smaller ones that are, not really competitive with Google Plus? Or do you use Facebook? I
was an early adapter of Facebook back in my college days. I think I joined Facebook in 2004, which was when, which was very early, you had to kind of sign colleges up back then, and you needed to fill in some information, and it was pretty cool back then. So you imagine my surprise when Timeline rolled out, and suddenly, 2004, all the wall messages from my college days were visible to the world again. So I spent a little bit of time cleaning up my timeline, but I think there's certainly Facebook has been a great product. I used MySpace when it was back there. It was actually the main means of communication for me and my wife when she was in America and I was in Europe. So sort of 2005, 6, and absolutely, if it's technology and it's new, I'll try it out. I remember signing on Twitter the first time, and I was like, "What the hell is this?" But I've come to like it a lot since, and I think you'll find we talk to a lot of people, all of us who are interested in tech. It's if people can really come up with a product that's great, that can change the world, and that works really well and it's fit for purpose, we'll use it.
Excellent. Yeah, Scott, did you have another question?
Yeah, with reference to that Face website, the one thing that I see that is kind of a difference is, well, when I got Timeline, it was like crazy with birthdays, and it was all in my timeline, and it was really annoying for me. But then I look and I see, well, how is birthdays going to be implemented into Google Plus in any type of way at all? Just because if my family's on here, and it's kind of a bringer for family members and people close to you, like who can see my birthday, who will get notified of my birthday, things like that.
And I haven't actually been part of a conversation that discussed birthdays. I think I can. As I said, I don't know. I can speculate that it's a privacy thing at the moment, that we just want to make sure that we get it right, that people can have the right controls around the privacy and around what content they want to disclose to people. So one of the uses I have for Facebook is that it reminds me when it's my family's birthdays. That's very that's very helpful for me. I have it also in my Google Calendar, but I need it both places because I need several reminders.
It's interesting how the things that originally drew us as a user group to Facebook, maybe birthdays and like pokes, and those kind of things are almost annoyances now in the world of social. It's like it's evolved so quickly in so little time.
I think my view on, I think it's important to have that the social graph you have is different for different occasions, and I think that's really one of the key things that I may want to. Let's use the birthday example. We get birthday wish greetings now from people that we barely remember. Mm-hmm. And I think it's kind of like it has watered down when people say happy birthday to you. Like before, 10 years ago, when someone said happy birthday to me, I was like, wow, you remembered? That was so cool. But now it's kind of like, you have 10,000 devices telling you it's my birthday.
Right.
It's not a big deal anymore. And so this, I think, but I mean, in all seriousness, and that's where we come back to the impersonal messages that we kind of hear feedback from our clients that it's hard to get the right message in front of the right people. And we're really, as I said, excited about the prospect of circles and how we can help with that.
I have a question about Android and business pages. I assume at some point there will be the option to manage your business page from your phone. I don't know if you can say that technically, but it's not out yet, and it's one of those things that it seems like it would be helpful.
Yeah, and I agree. I think it's something that the team is working very hard on.
Right.
I think the declared goal of the Android or the app for either the iPhone or the Android is that there shouldn't really be a difference what device you're on. You should have some of the same functionality. And I think you've seen that in terms of rolling out. It's very easy to manage comments, delete comments, all that kind of stuff has become very simple now to do on the Android app. So, joining Hangouts, again, very, very cool to do from the phone. And that is the declared goal. What's in the pipeline for the team, I don't really know at this stage, but I know they work really, really hard on the app. and I think it's come a long way since it was first launched. And I think it's going to get. I know it's going to get even better.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely has come a long way, and I will add in that the Hangouts from phones, I've been really impressed with how well that works, especially when you consider maybe in contrast that like the iPhones, their FaceTime app or whatever will still only work, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, it may still only work if you're on Wi-Fi. But I've been able to join Hangouts on 3G and have pretty good results.
We actually use it a lot at work when we're in the lunchroom or whatever, and we can just video into someone and say, hey, are you going to come to lunch or what?
Yeah.
When someone's not showing up for a meeting, you can just quickly get them on the phone, and it's pretty neat.
Yeah, I agree. Did somebody else have a question over here? Andrew, I'm surprised you've been quiet. You're the Android developer extraordinaire over there.
And not me?
Oh, well, you're both Android extraordinaires. I can't.
No, I'm just listening and enjoying.
I've kind of got a question.
I'm just dozing off here.
I'm sorry. Ryan, did you have a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, so one of the really cool things about circles is how you can, add different people to different circles. So I've got like a tech guy, and then I have people that are local to me and different things like that. But one other problem is, what if I want to send content out to people who are only interested in tech or only interested in music? Right now, I have to make that decision of which circle I put that person in. Have you guys talked about doing anything kind of like topics where I can say, like, I talk about tech and music? You can pick whichever one or both if you want to. That way, it's not up to me to assume what somebody is interested in when they're,
Categories?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we see some users who do that, and it's still, as you say, it's still a very, very manual task, but we've seen some users use it to great effect by saying, hey, I noticed I got a lot of people circling me. What kind of circle? What stuff are you interested in? I think one of the great things that actually really engages people too is that discovery phase, that you get to know each other, and you figure out you get to figure out what circle that person belongs in. For me, it's pretty. I typically get tossed in the don't talk to him ever circle or the Google circle. But I appreciate what you're saying. Circle management, whether it's for businesses or for persons, is definitely something that can be improved on. I think it can become a lot easier, but there is a fine line between how much control, and you don't want to be spammed, you don't want to be, and it's all those kind of things that a small change might seem like a small change, but it can change things dramatically for the user experience. So there are a lot of things to think about, but we definitely feel that the circles can be developed into something very, very powerful, and as you say, it could be that I indicate, these are the generic circles that I'm typically interested in joining. So if you circle me, I would like to be in the tech circle or the movie circle or whatever. But we haven't. I haven't seen anything yet that would indicate what that would look like.
Excellent. Scott, you have another question?
With reference to suggested users on the right side in the bar, are those filtered at any time? Because since I signed on, I have the same users, and I have not circled them, and I have no intention of circling them. Is there any type of way to click an X or something, like I don't want to see that because
there is an X if you vote for it.
It's feedback we get a lot, and I don't know how they're managing that right now. It's definitely some feedback that we've also as a team fed back to our overall user experience.
That's a bit confusing maybe, because when you hover over the person suggested, you see a little X next to it. You click it, it vanishes, but it seems to reappear after a while. So temporary
and it
or
does.
something. Yeah.
I remember when I initially started, in the early days of Google Plus, when I had more time between my hands, I just played that Mafia war game, and circled a lot of people who played that game. But then when I stopped playing it, I uncircled them because it took out my entire circled people box, and I get suggested those users now. So yes, there was some work there to be done, and I know the team is definitely aware of that.
And Mark, do you have another one? Go ahead.
Just a quick one. Are there any plans, short, long term, to raise the following number of people you can circle from 5,000?
Sorry, I seem to answer every single you ask with I don't know.
I can't just awkward questions. Sorry.
But at this stage, I don't really. I haven't talked to the team about what the exact reason was for the follower cap.
I imagine there was some sort of server load involved.
For most users, I don't think it's a challenge. I circle heavily and use, I mean not heavily, but I have about 2,500 people in my circles, and that's quite, that's solid, I think. But I think for most users, it's not a concern. I don't think there are that many users who are pushing that mark. Of course, you guys here in the Hangout might actually be, a cross-cut of the people who do push that boundary, but
yeah, I think I'm a similar number to you at the moment. So
I used to be, but I cut it back. I went back to well with less than 200 because it was just. I mean, if the moment your stream just starts tipping by, like one post a second, it's time to really trim it down.
Yeah,
I never look at the stream. I don't think.
That's also a way.
I've never understood how people, and this is sort of unrelated, but on the same idea, how people have like 10,000 people they're following on Twitter. Because how do you keep up with 10,000 people? I mean, your brain does not, it can't memorize which one of those people are.
I think actually this is a good argument for circles. I think that if you manage your circles right, it's very possible to keep up with 5,000 people, and that's really very, very neat. And similar on Twitter, you'd probably have a lot of lists or whatchamacallit on Twitter. So, but I think most people who are, if you want to talk about average users, they don't have that much micro control of their circles, and 5,000 people would just simply overwhelming. You would miss a whole lot of content.
Yeah, and I think what's nice though is being able to filter my stream by what circles I want to look at, and so if I only want to get regularly check one circle or a couple circles, I can do that. So that's, and I somebody mentioned Twitter lists. Ryan did. I've never been really impressed with Twitter lists, and they're way too hard to keep up with personally. But that's my opinion. So whatever. So does anybody else have any questions out here?
Yeah, any plans of Google Plus to kind of do something like Facebook is doing, which is basically filtering or deciding who you interact with the most to push that content up on the stream?
We are a data company, and I think Eric Schmidt spoke to this. I think actually Robert Scoble asked this at Le Web in Paris. And one of the things we've done there is the slider you have in each of your circles. You can decide, how much content you want to see from each circle. I think there's a danger in doing what in terms of deciding what posts people should see. I think on Facebook as a private user, it frustrates me tremendously that it goes to posts you most likely want to see or something. And I miss a lot of content from friends because of that. I heard a statistic that actually when you post on a Facebook page, only 16% of your followers actually see that post. And I think that's taking it probably a bit too far unless the user themselves control that. So, but that's my personal opinion, and I think the slider has done a good job at that, and I think we're going to see a lot more. But we definitely want those user controls to be there because, after all, it's your social network, so you should be deciding what content you want to see.
Well, the circles kind of serve that function. You can filter that out yourself, make a circle of the people that you want to see every post by.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing. You'll always see. So, for example, I have my photography circle set to show very little in my stream because it's not something I want to keep up on all the time. But I sometimes need that photography fix, and I go in and I look at Thomas Hawk and Trey Ratcliffe and all the amazing talent that's there. So yes, it does serve a really good way that way. And so people who like that control can have that control, and I think that's a really neat thing.
Now, the slider and its abilities, are they going to be transparent in how they filter out content? Let's say I have, like, one notch on the slider. Is it going to be transparent and very aware of me that how it's going to be, determining that?
I don't actually know. I don't have visibility of the actual algorithm that goes into deciding that. We definitely try to share as much as we can, and I think it may be that the team will make a sort of a. I remember they made sort of or post describing how they came up with Gmail, how all these things work on the back end, and I wouldn't be surprised if we would do something along those lines with that too.
I have another question that you probably don't know the answer to, so I'm just going to ask anyway. Do you have any idea when the full control API will be released for posting from third-party services or adding comments from third-party services, or is that even possible? Or does Google even want to do that?
That I don't know yet. As you probably know, we're working with a number, I think it's 6 partners in terms of testing third-party hosting to the actual site. And I think one of the things that companies have to remember too is that the level of engagement that people expect from businesses on Google Plus, and I say this to a lot of my clients, it's different. We do expect that they actually answer if we post a question on one of their posts, and that's a little different from other networks, and I think that's part of what we need to make sure we get right and businesses get right on the platform. So I don't know about the API. I know it's something people are really excited about, which is awesome. But I haven't heard any date for it.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I've been playing around with it for the last few weeks, so I'm pretty excited to see more of it come out soon. Yeah, and I thought another thing that was interesting that Facebook did, and you may have some thought on this, is they started to show automated posts less often in people's streams. What do you think of that idea? Is that something that, and I'm not saying Google's opinion on what they'll do with it, but is that something that makes sense to you personally?
I don't know. I think it's hard to determine the value of a post to me. I think that an automated post could be valuable to me as a consumer, but if it was applicable to my, so let's say your grocery a place you can buy groceries. Sorry, I just had a brain freeze. And you post every Sunday. You post your sales for the week. To me, as a consumer, that's very relevant. If I follow that supermarket, but so it's hard to say. I think it is really about relevancy. You have to get the relevancy right. You have to you have to get down on that personal level. And then as marketers, that's where we've seen the marketing change over the last couple of years, is that it used to be mass marketing. One message fits all, and here you go, Super Bowl style,
Right.
But now people are expecting that level of personal recommendation, and that's what we as marketers have to get used to. And social media is part of that.
Did anybody else have any questions out there when you're chatting? Sorry, I've been a little sick this week. I'm trying to get over it. Along those lines, what I understand the value of Google Plus to Google and to companies and to people. Is there a thought, because Google's in a different place than Facebook and Twitter, they're both technically still like startup companies. Is there a thought to monetize Google Plus directly, or is that something that's not really in Google's interest?
If there is, I haven't been privy to the conversation.
Right.
I think at this stage it's about creating compelling experiences for our users and for our businesses. I think if you want to talk monetization, you can talk about the integration with our AdWords platform, and how the social annotations, the +1 button, that stuff all filters into the ads. I think that's very powerful. Again, something that only will work if it works for our consumers and our customers, and that's really where that come in. I think, as I said, whether there will be in the future, I have no idea now.
Yeah, I kind of assume not, just because it doesn't seem to make sense to me, but opinion. So, anybody else have questions about this? So, Andrew had something. No questions. He just wants to type in the chat bar. All right. Well,
I have one quick one.
Yeah.
I can answer this one. Come on.
Yeah, that's I'm determined. Yeah. Well, was it Jan Molby that led you to Liverpool?
Sorry?
Was it Jan Molby who led you to support Liverpool, or was it just a boyhood thing?
That's one I can't answer. No, for those of you who are in America, and Liverpool is an English football team that I support a lot. I grew up watching Jan Molby play for Liverpool, and in previous years it was more Daniel Agger when he was sold from Brøndby to Liverpool that made me really get. I was always strong support. One of the reasons I am a strong supporter of Liverpool, and it's because it's one of the teams in England that has the most loyal fans. I remember watching a game where they were losing 6-2, and their fans were still cheering them on, which is incredible to see. It's kind of drawn me here to the University of Michigan and football, just because these fans, they're crazy, I tell you. You know, in my little village, there's someone who painted their house in Michigan colors, and they have the big M's on their driveway and in their garage, and it's absolutely crazy, but it's cool to see. I love when people support their teams.
Yay, you answered one.
Excellent. Well, Chris, I will let you go unless you want to hang out.
No, I'm gonna go with.
Stay, Chris. Yeah, you want to stay?
I'm
here in the Google office, so I'm gonna go down and catch a beer and some chicken wings, I think.
Excellent. Well, good. I've got to do it today too. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I really appreciate your time, and I hope that this was at least somewhat interesting to you to sit here and talk with us. And everybody else who had such great questions, I really appreciate it. You guys know I do this every Friday at 4 p.m. You're always welcome to come by. If you're here today, I will send you an early invite next time to make sure you get in. And yes, 4 p.m. Eastern, so it might be a totally different time depending on where you are.
What's the thing UTC?
Right. I can't count for everybody. So yeah, thank you, and Chris, it was good to see you. Good.